But first tonight, you know we are about to enter an election campaign when the Prime Minister dons his cricket outfit for the cameras. There he is, all suited up in white, posing alongside Olympic breakdancer Rachel Gun. Remember her? All for an annual backyard charity cricket match at Kirribilli House. Once again, there's Albo with his dog, moonlighting as the everyday man. And you know the campaign is imminent when Albo starts peddling out tragic lines and slogans like this one.
There is no opposition health policy, they just said on Saturday in something that it was sincere as a fake tan, said that he'd match it. Well, it'll fade away, just like a fake tan does.
Geez, it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? And for the record, there is nothing wrong with fake tan. But the bizarre optics have started and we aren't even in campaign proper yet. If this is Labor's new strategy of Kamala Harris-esque word vomit and jargon, it's going to make for an exhaustive campaign. And it seems as though this is not the only strategy being adopted by Labor, because it's become increasingly obvious when the Prime Minister has had enough of serious and important questions by reporters, the strategy is to snap and avoid. He seems to be only comfortable and at ease when he is talking about Peter Dutton. Now, as we know, the polls are bad for Albo. And as he and his policies get more desperate, he gets more angry. The Prime Minister was today spruiking his $8.5 billion Medicare pledge, pretending like Dutton has not pledged the exact same policy, and was asked a genuine question: who's paying for it? But Albo doesn't want a bar of it.
The economists are saying that this pre-election spending is going to be paid for by taxpayers paying in the form of bracket creep.
What this is an investment.
Peter, I'm not sure we have an answer on bracket creep there. Is bracket creep a problem that you'll seek to address through more income tax cuts in the next term, or should Australians expect
with respect, Paul, I did answer the question. It mightn't be the one that you'd like, but I did answer the question.
Well, it's not whether the reporter likes the answer or not. It's an important question for us, the public, to get clarity on. Who is paying and how? And this is important because, according to the Australian Financial Review, Albo has overseen the biggest spending increase for a first-term government since Gough Whitlam in the 1970s. Labor has made more than $120 billion worth of discretionary spending decisions from its 3 budgets. And there are billions more in yet-to-be accounted-for election promises, like the increase in bulk billing. In fact, economist Chris Richardson has warned there's only one real possibility to pay for it, and that's through higher income taxes and bracket creep. So there's certainly nothing free about Albo's free GP visits. He's on a spending bonanza with our money, and the contempt he shows when he snaps at the very question of it tells you everything you need to know about this Prime Minister. He will do and say anything to win, but not when he's asked about it. Then, of course, at the weekend, 3 Chinese warships took part in live fire drills off the east coast. This is serious because we're talking about lives at stake as passenger jets were rerouted. And again, guess what? Albo didn't want a bar of it.
Are you going to be looking at some sort of a punishment for China, like trade restrictions or anything like that?
You do know that most of the trade goes from here to there, not the other way around. And I've worked pretty hard.
Does this escalation from China warrant a stronger defence response from Australia, Prime Minister?
Well, I've answered with respect, I have answered the questions.
Seriously, Prime Minister, China is at our doorstep in a provocative manner, threatening our sovereignty, and you've apparently had enough talking about it. Beijing would lap it up because his silence is what China wants from Australia's handsome boy. And it happened again last week when he was asked about the timing of the election.
Gather round in the election, they might coincide.
It's so boring. It's so boring. The questions. No, gather round's fantastic. Just one of the initiatives. What's boring is questions about election timing. And Because you ask it, I've been asked it for a year.
Yep, doesn't want to know about that either. And on his quasi-New Year election campaign, it happened again.
That's not our slogan. Good try.
Is there a one-word slogan, one-sentence slogan you would use? I mean,
We're using. We've done this with backdrops. We've done this with media releases. I'm not sure which LNP member has sent you that question to ask, but they should pay attention, and you should be cautious about just reading out things that are sent from the LNP.
It's time for you to concede that your pledge to reduce electricity prices by $275 by this year, for whatever reasons, that's not going to happen. Is that fair?
Well, one of the things that we did, of course, was have a $300 energy bill relief.
That's not my question, in fairness.
That was the coalition.
The $275.
I know that, but you get to do the questions, I get to do the answers. That's the way it works.
Yeah, the Prime Minister just doesn't want to talk about what matters, does he? Cost of living, electricity, keeping the lights on in this country, paying for your bills. And what's abundantly clear is a failure to communicate, because the less he knows about a subject or doesn't want to talk about it, the more he gets angry. And compare this to when he's talking about Peter Dutton.
Peter Dutton, when he was Health Minister, ripped $50 billion out of the hospital system. Peter Dutton, who has never supported, very clearly on his own record, supported free healthcare. Peter Dutton can't be trusted. Peter Dutton's slashing and cuts, that's a matter for Peter Dutton.
Peter Dutton is the Prime Minister's security blanket. It is the only topic he's comfortable with. Yet what we need is a Prime Minister who fronts up, who doesn't shrivel at the thought of being asked important questions, who stands up for our values, who has a real plan to take this country forward.